The strongest message comes not from a single statement, but from the juxtaposition of two decisions made almost simultaneously. In China, on July 22nd, a man whose career had been entirely within the state-controlled religious structure was consecrated bishop, with Rome's approval. In Germany, a few days earlier, 4 dioceses rejected requests for more space for the ancient Mass. A clear, reasoned, and definitive no. On the one hand, a door opens to an atheistic regime. On the other, a door closes on the same old liturgy. The burning question, how is this possible? By the end of this video, you'll understand why this isn't a coincidence. It's a precise logic, and once you've seen it, you'll never be able to unsee it. Let's start with the Chinese facts, the verifiable ones. On July 22nd, Father Joseph Chang Yanfeng was ordained bishop in the diocese of Chifeng in Inner Mongolia. The see had been vacant for 20 years. Leo XIII had approved his candidacy on June 15th within the framework of the provisional agreement between the Holy See and the People's Republic of China. Chang was born in 1984 in Liaoning, ordained a priest in 2010, and by 2021 had already led the diocese as administrator. His career was entirely internal to the Church and was recognized by the regime. The Vatican Bulletin records the papal approval, but it doesn't tell the other half of the story, how the selection of a bishop actually works. In a country where the party claims the final say on every religious appointment, it's important to be honest about the context. The Holy See defends that agreement, signed in 2018 and renewed several times, saying it serves to preserve the unity of Chinese Catholics and prevent 2 parallel churches. This is a serious reason, not a pretext. No one here wants to caricature it. The desire for unity is legitimate, and the burden of governing a persecuted church is real. But the facts remain, and this is one fact. With a regime that imprisons bishops loyal to Rome and demolishes shrines, the Church finds ways to negotiate, mediate, and sign. 93-year-old Cardinal Zen, arrested in Hong Kong for his loyalty, called the agreement a betrayal of the underground church. His opinion carries more weight than 1,000 analyses. Let's keep this word in mind. Mediate. With Beijing, we mediate. Now let's see what happens when, on the other side of the world, someone simply asks for the usual Mass. On July 21st, the German Catholic Agency collected responses from 4 dioceses: Passau, Regensburg, Cologne, and Hamburg. The question was simple: will you expand the old Mass? The answer from all 4 was no. No expansion is planned. And the detail that makes this sensational is the context in which it arrives. Because it comes just as the Holy See is urging the faithful not to attend Masses celebrated by the Society of St. Pius X, which has chapels in all 4 of those dioceses. The logic would be obvious. If you ask the faithful to leave the fraternity chapels, offer them more approved ancient Masses. You provide an alternative. But no, they are asked to leave without giving anything in return. But the hardest blow comes from Regensburg, the diocese where the fraternity even has its own seminary. There, the diocesan spokesman explained the real reason in no uncertain terms. He said that offering a sufficient number of Masses in the ancient form is an important pastoral response to the sometimes aggressive missionary activity of the Society of St. Pius X. Pause on this sentence. The Mass of all time is not granted because it is a treasure, but as a containment tactic, an antidote, a tool to empty the fraternity's chapels. It is not loved, it is used. And when a tool is no longer useful or is less useful, it is discarded without further ado. This is the logic that governs the German gesture. Here are the two images, finally side by side. With an atheist regime, the Church mediates and signs. With its own millennial liturgy, it treats it as a threat to be managed. And this is where the word that explains it all comes in, synodality. Because Germany is not just any diocese, it is the heart of the synodal path, the most advanced laboratory of the Church that wants to be synodal. It's the same Church that recently placed two women in charge of an entire deanery, with the priest reduced to a purely formal moderator. The same Church that pushes blessings and the role of the laity. That Church, so open, so attentive, so ready to reconsider everything, suddenly becomes extremely rigid when faced with the ancient Mass. Openness applies to every new thing, never to tradition. And here we come to the second level, the one that really matters, because it's not a problem of China or Germany, it's a problem of direction. Firmness, in today's Church, seems to always be exercised in a single direction. It is flexible toward what is new, distant, even hostile to the faith. It is extremely harsh toward what is old, faithful, and rooted. An agreement is reached with Beijing. Dialogue is established with German synodality. A wall is erected against those who simply ask to pray as the saints prayed. It's not a question of discipline. Discipline, if it were truly the criterion, would also affect those who undermine the doctrine from within. Instead, it almost always and only affects traditionalists. And so the question that the faithful have been asking themselves for years in a low voice becomes impossible to ignore. Why is obedience always asked of the same people, and never of those who change their faith? Note, the Pope is not being tried here. The Pope remains the Pope, and sedevacantism is a dead end. Leo XIV inherited that agreement. He didn't invent it. But believers have the right to look at the facts and notice when double standards coexist under the same roof. Seeing is not rebelling. It's being adults in the faith. And the facts say this. The same authority that trusts a communist regime enough to let it choose its bishops does not trust its own Mass enough to let it grow. It is the Mass of Padre Pio, of the Curé of Ars, of the martyrs. It doesn't need to be justified as an anti-schism tactic. It justifies itself because it formed the saints we venerate. A church that treats its treasure as an inconvenience and a hostile regime as an interlocutor isn't losing faith, it's losing its priorities. And tradition here doesn't offer anger, it offers clarity. It reminds us that the criterion is never political expediency, but fidelity to what we have received, always with everyone moving in the same direction. The disoriented faithful, faced with these two doors, must not despair or cry out for schism. They must remain, pray, and continue to respectfully ask for the coherence that is lacking today. Because the house is still our home, and precisely because we love it, we can't pretend that those two doors, that yes to Beijing and that no to our Mass, are the same thing. They aren't. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment, Amen. God bless you.